Communication is the imparting or exchanging of information or news. And communication between living things comes in many different forms, whether it be through the release of certain chemicals, a certain gesture, or vocalizing one's thoughts. Everything on earth communicates with one another.
Tool-making skills and language skills evolved together. Our language, as well as our technology, has a long prehistory. The need for communication only came when humans began to work as a group. With communication came new ways for man to innovate. Communication began with simple body language. Facial expressions and hand movements were the beginnings of communication between humans. With a nod or a shake of the head, one man could explain to the other his taste or distaste for one food over another. Man could live simple, happy lives. But this was not the way of man. Instead, they wanted to grow and build and become powerful. Over time, more complex communication was necessary to advance as a society. As this need arose, so did language. Instead of simple yes or no questions, man could share ideas and innovate as a group. With language came the ability for man to think collectively and put together ideas into something greater. Without complex forms of communication, man could have never developed tools and eventually agriculture. Language is one of the most important steps in human advancement. However, one man could only retain so much information. This created a need for more developed ways of recording information. Writing provided a completely different medium of expression, and from the very beginning the literature of the clay tablets was fundamentally different from the oral compositions that circulated in society. Beginning with simple marks in clay, writing has become the most important means of sharing information in our day. Early humans dwelling in caves looked up and didn't just see a shelter, but also a canvas, ready to be filled with their imaginations and histories. Eventually, though, drawings were not enough to transmit one singular message, and more complex means were necessary. As humans began to talk to one another, a need to record what they had said arose. This led to writing. Oral traditions that had been passed down for centuries were suddenly available to anyone who could read. New stories were able to be created, as they were not forgotten so easily. With an increase in trade as well, societies like the Phoenicians developed number systems to record transactions with customers. This way business was much more efficient and much less argumentative. Without writing, cultural expression and innovation would never have advanced as far as they have today.
Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in the 1400s. With his invention, books became an easy-to-produce everyday commodity. With an increase in books came an increase in literacy, and a revival of the classics of Greek and Latin writers. The concept of humanism rose in popularity, and its ideas of government, philosophy, natural science, and reasoning, communicating through print, now became much more viable than before the creation of the press.
Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I didn't see you there. I was getting a telegraph from Los Angeles in like a second. Oh, and what does it say? The telegraph is dope? Oh, yeah, it is. The telegraph was invented in 1837 by Samuel Morse. It operated with Morse code, which was developed by him and his assistant, Alfred Vail. It absolutely revolutionized the world. For centuries it took weeks, months, and even years to transfer information, depending on the distance. Books and handwriting were the only ways, until the telegraph. The telegraph operated at super speed compared to those. A sailing ship needed 2 months to cross the Atlantic. Early steamships took around 15 days. But a telegraph from New York to London took minutes.
The surge of internet use in the recent past has made the globe more connected. The internet has become a hub of information to be exchanged from all corners of the globe. The internet allows not only for information, but ideas to spread, the way the printing press helped spread ideologies hundreds of years ago. The speed at which information travels on the internet makes it such a powerful medium, bringing the world closer and closer together, making communication a much more easy process than it had been before. Though it may not seem very probable, plants communicate with each other. Many plants are connected through an underground network of thin fungal fibers known as mycelium. Using these fibers, plants can send chemical messages, share nutrients, and even send toxins to other flora that are trespassing on their plant territory. Meanwhile, the fungus can grow its colonies and absorb what the plant's roots absorbs, so they work in a mutually beneficial relationship. And the mycelium works as a high-speed plant internet for the plant information to be exchanged plant to plant.
Futuro. I mean future because we totally don't speak Spanish in 2050 or anything. Either way, we've all seen how much our world has changed in the past 50 years alone. Well, we haven't since we're not 50 except for Mr. Welsh, but you know what I mean. With devices like the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive coming into play, augmented reality could be the next big thing. Forget the days of actually seeing people. Now we will be chatting with their avatars in a really detailed and dope FaceTime. This is a distant future. What language will we be speaking? Chances are we'll still be speaking English, but with population trends, it's looking like Chinese and its dialects, Hindi, Bengali, and Spanish are going to be really big too. Luckily, we already speak English and will make everyone else speak it with us. Overall, communication has just been some crazy stuff. To hand signals of early humans to Gutenberg's printing press, we've never had enough. We've gone from tribal communication to continental communication to global communication that just takes seconds. Also, let's not forget those trees that speak with each other. I can now say trees are more social than some people I know. Our species has been through a lot, and without the camaraderie formed with the help of language, who knows if we'd be here today. This has been a big history presentation on the development of communication by Logan Inwood, Beck Shosted, and Josiah Magnum. God bless America.